lot of times you get caught up in how can I use the policy, right? But the fact that it's life insurance backed, so just that alone is security on its own. And coming from being a saturation diver, trying to get any type of life insurance when I was a diver, forget about it.
Yeah.
It was basically impossible. And even if I could, it was very small and very expensive. And so when you and I first chatted, and you ran through everything with me, and you showed me what was possible, it gives you this peace of mind right off the bat. So ignore all the financial aspects and all the uses and the fun stuff that you can do with it right off the bat. I could walk out the door, get hit by a bus, and immediately know that, okay, my family's going to be taken care of from this point forward. So that's kind of ground zero with this policy. So when I do wheel out my whiteboard and start marking things down and boring some people to death, the very first thing that I say right off the bat is, if I walk out today, slip and fall, that's it. My family is covered. And that is peace of mind. And that's really where it starts. And then we can get into the more complications of using it properly. But you're right. That's a very good point. Like that brings peace. So we're talking to other entrepreneurs and other real estate focused individuals that are able to pull some good equity, and then wondering what to do with that equity, by really digging into these policies and remembering that the bottom line is you are succession planning. So yes, you have a big portfolio, and the portfolio is going to, if you do it properly, it could be pretty much tax-free. If you're done it properly to hand down, you're still handing down a job, right? So it's not quite the same as the comfort of handing down, a windfall of tax-free money. That's a very good point. It's a whole other side of it, but it's super important. Really, I think speed of acquisition has changed quite a bit. And when I'm talking about speed of acquisition, I mean that I'm no longer in a big rush to put this money to use. Right. So when I pull out equity before the policies and before the setup, and you're sitting on all this cash, you're just looking for the next deal really quick.
Yeah.
And maybe you're going to jump into something that you wouldn't have if you had the luxury of making money while you wait. Right. That's one of the big things. So it really takes that edge off a little bit. And having said that, there are some properties in my portfolio that have been those type of mistakes. But after you've worked and pulled those mistakes through, you're going to carry them on. So when I look back at my portfolio, I think to myself, well, I probably wouldn't have bought that if I had already had this policy going on and I wasn't in such a rush to get something right away to put the money back to work. I probably would not have bought that. So that's a big advantage. And when you're talking about now with the interest rates the way they are, and the interest rates, first of all, I want to say the interest rates are not that bad. We've seen much worse interest rates than they are right now. But where people think that they're bad is the people who have come in the last 5 years, and it was free money basically all over the place. What I say to those people in regards to the policy is that you can sort of balance out the volatility of the interest rates by using these policies to store your funds, store your equity, get ready, ride out the wave, just make those decisions. So it's really just a nice way to take the edge off of being a real estate investor, if that makes sense.
We want you to understand the 5 strategies that you can use to reduce taxes now and in the future. In fact, we wrote about them in our book, Keep Taxes Away from Your Wealth. You can get a copy of Keep Taxes Away from Your Wealth by going to keeptaxesaway.com. That's keeptaxesaway.com. Ease on over there, get a copy today.
Not all of these people, but a lot of people got themselves over leveraged.
Yeah.
Because everything was so cheap. And, when you're buying things and you're over leveraging yourself, and then even just a couple of points difference in the interest rates at time of refinance. So they're coming into a position, where they've used private money or whatever, and now they need to refinance. They're forced to either refinance or sell. And if you have 4 or 5 properties that you picked up over the last year because it was, really easy to get money, and then you're coming to refinance, the bank might refinance 1 or 2, but then they're going to start to say, okay, well, wait a minute, we just refinanced these 2. It's getting more and more risky to keep going down the refinance. So they might be forced to sell rather than refinance. So really, I'm in the position right now where I'm starting to stockpile. So any equity that I'm pulling, I'm just holding and holding and holding. And not that you ever wish anything bad for anybody. Obviously, you want everybody to be successful, but you still need to, maintain your composure and wait, because you know what's coming in the next year or 2 years. Oh, well, the obvious one is to get these policies underway right off the bat. That's the main thing, to make use of your money while your money is still working. That's that to me, that's the game changer. So when I'm borrowing against my death benefit and I'm putting that money to work elsewhere, and yet know that the money that I had to work to earn, because essentially, if you're working a job, let's say you're working a job, well, people forget that that's actually a trade. So you're trading your time for money. And so I break it all the way down when I talk to clients, or when I talk to, I have a small coaching program as well. I break it all the way down, and I start reminding them that you're trading your heartbeats, your limited heartbeats in your life. You're trading that for some sort of money. Let's say you work at McDonald's, and I don't know what the wage is, but maybe $12 an hour. You're making the decision, I'm going to trade 1 hour of my life. I'm 1 hour closer to death for $12. So that trade is so important that the last thing that you want to do is kill that $12. If you take that $12 and you pay a bill, or you take that $12 and you buy whatever you want to buy, a television, whatever, not that you can buy a TV for $12, but you get the concept. It's gone. It's gone forever. And so this policy, and being an entrepreneur and getting in, running down those roads, my advice would be to start looking into this, get started on it right away, get it rolling, and keep I call it your soldiers, keep your soldiers alive by putting them into this policy. So even now, if I pull against my death benefit and I, make the purchases, my money that I had to work for and trade every heartbeat is still in there, still working, still doing its thing. And so that, to me, that's the biggest advice more than anything, because time is limited. That's our one equalizer across the planet. No matter how much money you have and how wealthy you are, or however poor you are, we're all limited by our lifespan. And that doesn't change for anybody for now. Well, right now, really, my biggest concern is, when you're doing your succession planning. So the biggest concern is, how do I force them to also get the policy, right? So I'm starting to look at other big families out there that are using the same sort of concept, and what they're doing generation after generation after generation. And so that's what I'm looking into right now. Because for me, it's one thing to get a big windfall, tax-free windfall, but it's another thing just to blow it all, and then that's the end, right? So when you're looking at my children and grandchildren, on and on and on every generation, I want to look into how to expand that windfall, right? Rather than just cash it out and that's it. So that's where I am right now. So to me, that's the important aspect about it. It's okay. You can use it yourself and do everything you need to do and take advantage of keep your soldiers alive and everything that we talked about. But how do I guarantee that the next generation has the head on their shoulders to do the same thing over and over and keep growing, right? It'll keep growing basically exponentially, especially if you use that windfall to, purchase the next set of policies. Just imagine how big that is, and on and on and on. So for me, that's where I am right now. Is that's my worry? Not that it's a worry, but that's my focus.
Love that. Absolutely love that. And it's transferring the wealth mentality.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that, we've really been, I think, emphasizing at every opportunity, because clients often share exactly what you just described, and how they're feeling that sense of, okay, things are in place and I know that this is going to transfer, and we're just sort of shining a bright light on, make sure you transfer the mentality along with it as well. And it's
exactly
that is a function of conversation, time, educating, coaching. Like, I have my kids now sit in on meetings with me.
Mm-hmm.
So if my daughter's around, Charlotte, or my son Jackson, who have both, developed this deep interest in the business, I say, just pull up a seat and just be a spectator. I want you to see how I'm having conversations with people. I want you to hear the feedback, and I want you to be able to process it and have a discussion with me about it, even at an early age. And so I encourage any entrepreneur watching this or, listening to it. If you have kids, that's one thing that just often gets overlooked. Like, have them tag along.
Yep, exactly.
And watch what they learn because it's very rapid.
Yeah, it really is. And both my kids, they're super excited about it. And I have them teach me. So I'll sit on the couch and I'll bring out the whiteboard and I have them go through the whole thing and then maybe make a few corrections here and there and what they're saying. Then you really see it, that they have an understanding about it. And I just like you, I actually involve them in a lot of the transactions. So I show them what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? I'll bring up the policies online. I run them through the Excel sheets and the spreadsheets and look at, here's the daily amount and here's how much it changes and all of that stuff. And I work through that so that they can feel that excitement and feel the advantage of having this. And a lot of times, even with my clients, going back to real estate sales, with my clients, I would say that the only downfall now is that I have more confidence in these policies and that future than I do in real estate portfolio.